you're here joining me and my friends Corey Sanchez and Ira Rosen for this three-part training on lead generation online and offline. My name is Don Osborne, and guys, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really, really appreciate it.
You got it. Well, we're very excited to share some our wealth of wisdom when it comes to lead generation, sales, and all that stuff. But glad to be here.
Well, we shall see how much wisdom there really is, right?
As you start feeling through the layers.
Well,
Yeah, a little
Don,
bit.
we're gonna pull back the curtain and we're gonna reveal and fully disclose all our secrets.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to
Right
do.
now.
I'm glad you said that because that's what I want to have happen in this training. So in this video, the first of a three-part video training, I want to talk specifically about lead generation for business to business in context with sales training. Whether we talk about Miller Hyman or the Sandler selling system or Dale Carnegie or Brian Tracy or Zig Ziglar, or any of a number of amazing, awesome sales training programs, all of them have a way or a style of going about getting leads. And I want to talk with you guys as lead generation experts. I want to talk with you guys about that, your experiences with that. Tell me your story. What do you think?
Yeah, so great point there. I mean, when I was just starting off as an entrepreneur, I was actually a scientist. I didn't know anything about sales or marketing, so I was pretty much starting from scratch. So I had to go out there and learn sales from the ground up. And there's a lot of training out there, like the systems that you talked about, and all those are really great. I mean, there's a lot of really important programs like Ira. I learned a ton from Ira, who I met at a networking event, and he's been in sales for 45 plus years. It's a long time. Yeah. So he impressed upon me the need for sales training, because when you've got a prospect in front of you, I mean, it's essential that you can optimize it, and you can really know that, hey, if I'm going to meet 10 people, I'm going to close 2, or I'm going to close 5, or 8 of them, or whatever your closing ratio is. And so this is one of the things that I really kind of gleaned from Ira is the importance of sales and how to do sales in this kind of new changing economy, right, Ira?
Absolutely. And so, they say, sales is a numbers game, and so then I say to everyone, what are your numbers? What's your closing ratio? And you've got to be trained up. You've got to be able to have the skills. You got to have the knowledge. You got to have the techniques. Those are all really, really critical, because it's kind of like you have 2 bullets. One is your sales training, because when you get in front of them, you have to be able to, I call it, lock them down, because nothing happens till somebody sells something to somebody. Now, the other piece is, you could be the most amazing salesperson on the planet, and you could have a kill rate of, say, 80 or 90%, but if you don't have anybody to talk to, maybe you've got 1 or 2 prospects every 2 weeks, you've got a big problem. The guy that has lots of leads, that has maybe a 25% closing ratio, he's going to run circles around the guy who's an amazing salesperson without lead generation, because right now, leads are like oxygen more than ever before. Not to negate and say that the sales training is not important. You need to have that. That's an important element, but you've got to have the leads. If you don't have people to talk to, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. Wouldn't you agree, Corey?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure Don would agree as well.
Okay, so I love it, and I understand the question. So how do I go about getting leads? And the sales training I've been through has taught me some lead gen techniques. I'd love to hear your thoughts about, some example lead gen techniques that you've learned. What's working for you in the past, and where we are today.
Yeah, and let's start here. So number one, we know leads are like oxygen. You need leads in your business, and let's talk about the second kind of big important revelation that we had when it came to leads. And this was actually pretty surprising to us, because when we first started going out there to get leads, I mean, the only way that we knew how was to actually go out there and do some networking events. Sure, and so that's kind of how we started. And a lot of people have done that. They go out, you find a couple events to go to, you put them in your calendar, you drive out there, you get ready, and you go meet a whole bunch of people. And hopefully, out of that comes some really great relationships, people that will want to do business with you. And then there's a long-term follow-up that happens. So that's kind of where we started here at Mojo, is going to networking events. Now, one of the challenges about networking events is that even though it can be very inexpensive or in fact even free, you never know who you're going to meet there. You never know if you're going to meet 10 great prospects or maybe 0. Sometimes you end up with a giant goose egg. You also know that it's going to take you time. It's going to take you a while. Like every networking event that you ever go to is going to be about 3 hours minimum, right? You got travel time, you got time there networking, handing out your cards, and then you got the time after that traveling back, and then there's the follow-up, right? So it's going to take time, and it's also going to take a lot of energy. It can be very energy consuming to go out there and pump yourself up and meet that many people and be on your best behavior, right? So that was kind of a challenge. So we started looking at models that would drive us more leads, and we always thought it was kind of like we need more leads, and just how many leads we could get. And we discovered that it really wasn't exactly the amount of leads you would get, right? That was important. Even though the more leads you get, obviously, the better. What was really important is that you had a consistent lead source, right? And I think this is kind of where a lot of people get it wrong, because, you know, take a look at networking cycle. You go to a networking event, you get a whole bunch of leads, and then what? What happens the next day? Are you too busy? Are you too busy following up? And then you're just kind of like, your lead source is down here, and then you go to another event, and then boom, you're spiking it. And so this is kind of like what people are doing with their lead sources, and that's how it's going. And it's very challenging to be able to rely upon that. Right? One of the things we always go out and ask people is, how are you getting leads? A lot of people actually end up saying word of mouth or referrals. Now, I love referrals. I love word of mouth. Those are some of the best leads that you could ever get, because they came with an introduction that from somebody they trust that recommended you. But what really a lot of times when I hear that, it says to me that most people aren't doing any marketing, or their marketing actually sucks, right? So what people need, and this was a huge revelation, when we figured this out, it really changed our entire business, is that you need a constant source of leads. You need something predictable, something scalable, something so you know you're going to get, I don't know, five appointments today, right? Or 10 appointments today, right? If you've got a sales team, or more than that, or that you're going to get 10 leads or 15 viable leads. That is a system. That's a viable way to get leads, where you can actually predict how many leads you're going to get for that day, right, Ira?
Absolutely. You know, 90% of the success of a business right now has nothing to do with how great your products or services are. It's all about your marketing and lead gen, and lead gen is everything. And so we've really become very aware of the necessity of that, and so it forced us to do lots of different things. It forced us to actually go ahead and get very experimental over the years, spend a lot of money, and not be afraid to fail and try a multitude of different things. And some of them in the beginning we knew were probably not going to work, but we wanted to make sure that they wouldn't work. So we really have exhausted pretty much everything. And so it's really been a journey. And if you have a full calendar, you have probably a full bank account. And conversely, if you've got an empty calendar, your bank account, I'm sure, reflects that as well. So and no one ever talks about calendars, ever. You know, when's the last time you went to an event, you're on a webinar, they're talking about filling your calendar? That's the language that we have every day here at Mojo, is what does your calendar look like? How targeted are those leads? How qualified are they? You know, are you fishing in a little pond where you're pulling out guppies and minnows, or are you pulling out whales out of the big blue ocean? And so a lot of times we get people that want to work with us, but they don't have the capacity to pay for our services. They love us and they want to work with us, but they can't do that. So the trick nowadays, the new model I have found, a lot of people are going to this, is work with fewer clients that can pay you more money, pay you the money that you're worth. And so that's really the direction that we've been going in, and we have found it to be highly successful, because most of our time, 80 to 90% of it, is non-revenue producing. And you need to remember that, because that is a big problem for all entrepreneurs. Our time gets sucked away with non-productive things. If you don't believe me, read the book, The 4-Hour Work Week, and that's Timothy Ferriss's central message, is our day pretty much is wasted away with things that are really unimportant that don't help us. Wouldn't you say, Corey?
Yeah, I would, absolutely. Don't you think, Don?
Yeah, so, okay. And I get a sense of what you're alluding to, and I want to talk in another video about some of the more modern lead generation strategies. But I really want to, before we do that, let's just look at the tried and true for just one quick second before we wrap up this video, and that is, you talked about networking events. Give me one solid tactic that I can take with me to a network event that I'm going to, say, today or tomorrow, where I'm going to be able to pull some decent leads, for my 3 hours and my $10 for appetizers.
Ira, I'll let you kick that off.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a great question. Thank you for that. What I would do is go in there from a place of collaboration and service, and really being curiosity. Being curious about what that person is doing, wanting to learn about what they're doing, taking an interest in what they're doing, asking great questions, and don't show up. My daughter calls it commission breath, where you go to a lot of these events and everyone's trying to pitch everybody and everyone's broke. So you want to get away from that. You want to find the most influential people in the room and really find out about them. Have them tell you where they want to be in the next few months, and really build a connect. It's not how many people you talk to at an event. It's how many people can you make a connection with, a deep connection, so that when they walk away, they're going, wow, they're really impressed, and they feel great after talking to you. So Don, I would say that's really important, and be very specific. If you can actually get and lock them down to a specific time on the calendar for, say, the next 2, 3, 4 days, that's the optimal situation, because otherwise you play phone tag, you go back and forth. And how many times does that happen where someone says, oh yeah, we'll get together, then you follow up with them and nothing ever happens. So try to get an actual appointment, if nothing else tentative, while you're there in front of them.
Great. Okay, so let me see if I can put these pieces together. We've talked about networking events. We talked about word of mouth. Another word of mouth would be referral. And now you're suggesting that I combine those two. I take a possible, somebody who's not even necessarily a prospect of mine, I meet them in a networking event because they may have a very good, deep set of contacts themselves. Maybe I go out, schedule a meeting with them, talk to them about what they're doing, what they're interested in, coming to them and saying, how can I help you do more business? And then inviting them to ask me the same questions so that we can collaborate together, create this informal joint venture, and then they're able to refer me, I'm able to refer them. Did I get that right?
Yeah, perfect. I mean, I like the language, what you're using. One of the things I like to say is, I would love to find out more about you and your business and how we could possibly collaborate and support one another in the growth of our business moving forward. So I've said a lot of things in those 2 or 3 sentences. Absolutely, Don.
Great. Okay, good. So unfortunately, we're out of time, but I do want to, for the next video, I want to chat some more, especially about using more modern lead generation methods and integrating those methods with tools like a contact relationship management platform like Salesforce and other tools like that. But we'll save that for the next video.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Don.
Okay, so we're going to keep it running?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So now the next one we'll start, and I'll count us in, and we'll pick up where we left off. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
A little late to get to feel modest about your cleavage there, Corey. Okay, and 3. Hi, welcome back. My name is Don Osborne, and joining me are Corey Sanchez and Ira Rosen. Just amazing guys when it comes to lead generation. Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it going, Don?
So thanks very much for coming. I really appreciate it. I know Modal Global is a growing and fast-moving organization, and while you still return my phone calls, I really wanted to grab you, get you on the video and talk with you more about what you guys are doing. So help me out here. I am, trying to figure out how to use contact management software to help me manage my leads. What do you have to say about that? What have been your experiences around doing that?
Yeah, so one of the big premises is that the fortune is in the follow-up. This is one of the things that we've always kind of stuck with, even in the very early days of Mojo. Mm-hmm. In fact, when we started networking, we would oftentimes follow up with people right away, and the impression that it left upon people was just so much better than if we had waited a little bit. In fact, we've got a little video where it's a fun little video, and it's all about following up with people, and it's kind of like if you take a glass of milk, right, and you drink it, you take it out of the refrigerator and you drink it, and it's ice cold, and it tastes delicious, right? And if let's just say instead you take this glass of milk, you place it on the countertop, and you let it sit there for a day. Right, what starts to happen to it?
Yep.
What if you left it there for 3 days or a week or even 2 weeks, right? It starts to get really nasty very fast. And that's exactly what people are doing with their leads. They're not following up with them correctly. And, it's no wonder. They got these business cards lying around. They've got things in spreadsheets. They've got no system to do that, right? So I think having a system in order to follow up with leads is absolutely essential, wouldn't you say, Ira?
Absolutely. And so, leads, obviously, like we talked about earlier, like oxygen, but, the fortune is in the follow-up, and they say you have to touch people 8 to 12 times before you get a sale, and sometimes it's even more than that. I read recently that 85% of people that inquire about a product or service, particularly something that's more expensive, say $500 on up, will buy that product within 1 to 2 years. So it's not like if they're going to buy, it's when. Now, we were just at InfusionCon, and that's probably one of the top follow-up systems there is on the planet. The problem with that system is it's complex, and if you're just starting out, I would not recommend that, but we do really well at that event every year because you've got this Ferrari of follow-up systems, but most of those people don't have leads to put in the system, so they don't really have anybody to follow up on at the level that they would want. So it's kind of like you bought the Ferrari at the dealership and you get it home and you don't have gas for the car and you can't drive it.
Yeah, and I want to kind of jump off that point and or jump into that point really and talk about that because we'll see a lot of entrepreneurs that actually get CRMs. There's lots of them out there. There's Salesforce, there's Act, there's Infusionsoft, Ontraport. I mean, there's tons of CRMs, and those listening to you're either investigating one or you have one that you're currently using. You're trying to figure out how to optimize it, and a lot of people spend a lot of time kind of figuring out what to do with all their leads in the CRM and what emails, and it gets really complex. Right? Now, the challenge with that is if you don't have a large lead source going into that. All you're doing here is trying to figure out for a challenge, that isn't quite there, right? It's kind of like, when you're trying to, let's say you go to this, IKEA and you buy a piece of furniture, right? You want to start with step number 1, which and they give you instructions. Step number 1 is this. Step number 2 is this, and step number 3 is this. And if you ended up starting with step number 2 or step number 3, guess what? You're going to end up with a piece of junk after a while because it just doesn't have the support or it's missing a piece or something like that. You're going to have to go back and rebuild it, right? After all of that work. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs are doing that. So we're huge advocates for starting in step number 1, which is generating the lead source, and then once you have those leads coming in, you're like, wow, I got so much to follow up on. Then focusing up on the follow-up piece of that. Streamlining that, systematizing that, so that way you're converting people through that sales cycle and even automating it so it's done all automatically. But I just wanted to throw that out there because it's kind of an often overlooked area. And start with step number 1, which is leads, then dive into the follow-up piece with the CRM and the systemization.
I love what you had to say because it's so tempting to build an email campaign, an autoresponder sequence, maybe a direct mail piece, other kinds of follow-up. It's so easy to build all that, But if leads are waiting and you're not actually engaging those leads because you're so busy kind of rearranging the email sequence on a computer screen, it's not serving anybody in the moment.
I would
Ultimately,
agree, and it's then you get back into what we talked about earlier. That's non-revenue producing activities, and so there's a balance because you've got to leverage your time, and I believe that by having you've got to have a follow-up system in place. You absolutely have to because we created our own because we got kicked off of AWeber in the very beginning because we were doing so much follow-up, and so we actually created our own follow-up system with video. But one of the reasons we did that, we knew that if we met these people and we didn't follow up, everything would evaporate. And follow-up in business is sort of like dating. You go to an event, you meet someone, right away you follow up, you build that first impression, you build that relationship, and good things happen. It's just like you go on a date, you send flowers, and you start building that relationship, versus the guy that goes out, loses her number, calls her a year later, and then she picks up the phone and she says, "Who is this?" And she says, "Geez, I just got married," and hangs up on him. David Fagan calls that a business booty call. So if you're doing business booty calls, stop it because it's costing you a lot of money.
That's awesome. I love that. All right. So, if someone is really looking right now for help with, lead gen and leaning on maybe a CRM tool in order to do that, I feel like they may be putting the cart before the horse a little bit. That they need another thing, some other way of generating that lead, whether it's networking or referral sources, old school direct mail, old school advertising, old school telephone sales. Something that's at the beginning of the CRM that will then drop leads into the CRM and run them through. And without that, then really no matter how much I spend, how much time or money I spend on the CRM, it's really not going to come back to me. It's not going to pay me very well.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. So you need to have a constant revenue source. I mean, that's one of the things we always set out to do. I mean, we did a ton of testing on blogging, on search engine optimization, on pay-per-click, on Facebook. We've done telemarketing. We've gotten radio spots. We've done print advertisement. All along the way, we spent a bunch of money on each one of these things. But you know what? We know if we can get something to work all the time that consistently delivers us leads, then we're on to something. So we test and measure a lot of things in order to arrive at that one thing that's always feeding our funnel. So one of the things that we kind of arrived on is LinkedIn. LinkedIn actually for us has been huge. I mean, I can't tell you how awesome it is to know that we've got a platform out there that has all the right people. LinkedIn, average salary on there is easily double that of other social media websites, right? The average salary is about $112,000 plus. For the demographic we're looking at. On Facebook, it's only $61,000. So it's literally half that on Facebook. As far as the quality of leads. So we saw that, and we decided to dive right into that and try and figure out how to tap into that lead source. Now, a lot of people look at LinkedIn as kind of a social media website. We did too, but at the beginning, it didn't take us long to figure out that LinkedIn is not very social, and it's really, I look at it like a major lead warehouse of sorts. And we kept diving into it because we realized that LinkedIn is an absolute goldmine. It's one of the most trusted websites on the planet, right? There's billions of dollars of commerce done through LinkedIn, and we wanted to figure out how to do that. So we kind of started from the beginning and did all the things that people recommend that you do. Start on your profile and get connections and all that stuff. And it didn't take us long to realize that the things that most people are teaching when it comes to LinkedIn don't really work. But we were so convinced of how much business there is to transact within LinkedIn. We kept trying this and trying that to figure it out, right, Ira?
Absolutely. And it's sort of like if someone knocked on your door and said, I got great news, but bad news. The good news is there's a gold mine in your backyard that we stumbled across by accident, and we don't know how deep it goes, but it's very deep with millions of dollars of gold. The bad news is we don't know how to excavate it and get it out of the ground. And so that's everyone's situation right now. I would say that less than 5% of entrepreneurs really are accessing LinkedIn the way they should. The other thing which is important to remember is, when Forbes and Fortune magazine, Inc. magazine do cover stories on LinkedIn saying that is where the game is, you got to really take notice of that. Wall Street Journal just did a huge article on LinkedIn. Also, the Harvard Business Review. So all the thought leaders of the world, that's where they're at. That's where they're pushing everybody. And so I send this challenge out to anybody who's watching this. Get on LinkedIn. Take the time to find out what it's all about, and give yourself the permission to make some mistakes. That's what we did, and just become a LinkedIn expert. If you become a LinkedIn expert this year, I will make you one promise. You will have the best year you've ever had in business ever. I mean, that I know for a fact. I mean, Don, I know that you've been on LinkedIn, and that's where the opportunities are. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I have had like unparalleled success personally and professionally through LinkedIn, and it excites me because, bluntly, it's just so much easier. Once I understood what it was all about, which was not easy because, the platform is, it's not easy to penetrate that platform the right way. But once I figured it out, wow, my eyes were open to a wealth of opportunity much bigger than I've ever seen in any other vehicle. So I want to talk more about that. Unfortunately, we're low on time for this video. So let's save some detailed conversation about how to leverage LinkedIn for the next one.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
All right, Don.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so
for
much.
helping out. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so beyond perfect for teasing this content. That was masterful. You're evil sons of bitches. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So the third topic is ad agencies, but we just set up this big reveal about LinkedIn. So I want to take just a couple minutes. I want to really shorten the amount of time we spend on ad agencies. And I want to jump right into, we'll basically piss on ad agencies, and then we jump right into, why you want to do it yourself and why you want to do it with LinkedIn. And we'll give some great tips on how to do it with LinkedIn. Those tips need to create problems. So, you have to optimize your LinkedIn profile, which creates a problem, which is, how do I optimize I have no idea what you mean, right? You want to start reaching out to other people, and then that creates a problem. How do I reach out to other people in LinkedIn? These are the kind of the advice you want to give that says what to do but not how to do it. Fair enough?
Got it.
All right, here we go. You guys ready?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, and 3. Hi, and welcome back. It's Don Osborne. I'm here with Corey Sanchez and Ira Rosen. Welcome, guys.
Hey, how's it going, Don?
Hi, Don.
Hey, I want to jump right back into this conversation. In the last video, we were just talking a little bit about LinkedIn, and I really want to talk about how to take advantage of that. But before we do, one legitimately reasonable way to think about lead gen in this modern time, right, is to hire somebody, find an agency or find an expert in your field whose business it is to go out and generate leads on your behalf, and who maybe have some expertise with pay-per-click or solo advertising, maybe knows about newsletters and online magazines that you can get placement. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about that, what your experience has been in terms of how that converts.
Okay, yeah, Don, thanks. That's a great question for the audience here. Really, I want to start with this. 90% of the success of a business right now has nothing to do with your products or services. It's all about lead generation, but the right leads at the right place. So most lead gen does not work. I mean, a high percentage of it doesn't work. I call it spray and pray. Now, agencies, that's a very, I mean, we could talk about that for a long time, and there are a few agencies out there that truly, really can help you. The problem is a lot of them are doing outdated things, things that worked last year, things that worked 3 years ago. But we all know things are changing so quickly. There's a lot of things that are obsolete. And so I just, if you're listening to this, I would just say be extremely careful of an agency, because they can really, there's a few of them that can truly help you, but I'd say a lot of them, if they're using outdated methodology, you're really in for a long, hard ride down a rabbit hole, and you don't want to do that. And so what we have discovered is, I'm going to save you a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of heartache. Just go directly, go right to LinkedIn. That is where the opportunity is. You do not need an agency to help you with that, and you're going to get the highest quality of lead. You're going to get the guy that's targeted for your, for your niche, and you're going to be able to really tap into all that availability of resources and money, no gatekeepers, massive, massive opportunities.
Yeah, and I can understand why you'd want to hire somebody to actually do the marketing for you, right? Because at the end of the day, you just want results. You want to know that you're going to get leads and all that. You want daily leads, and you want to grow your database and grow your social followings. But at the end of the day, you want to transact business, right? So I can certainly understand why a lot of people actually go on the hunt and search for agencies to actually do the marketing for them. One of the challenges I've always found is that, number one, they charge a lot, and the value that they provide in exchange for that is not as much as what you're paying them. The second thing is they take a long time, right? One of the things I'm always looking for is, how can I get results quickly, right? In 30 days, in a couple of weeks, right? I don't want to have to wait 6 months to see a return on any dollar I spend. I want to see it right away. And so that's something that we're always big on, taking massive and immediate action. So that's why it's kind of important to really have the power of lead generation in your hands, and to have a system, a reliable one especially, that will deliver constant, continuous results to your doors. Right? That's why we love to focus on LinkedIn, because if you know how to tap into it and you know how to use it, I mean, truly use it to get business, not do all the other stuff that you hear where it's like, just if you update your profile, all of a sudden you get a flood of leads, right? Or if you just connect with some folks, then all of a sudden you're going to close a lot of deals, right? It's a little bit more sophisticated than that, and that's something that we've really discovered how to do over a long time, right? There's starting points, and then there's the systems we've created in order to make sure that it's, number one, effective, and number two, automated. But just to kind of piggyback on what Ira said, yeah, LinkedIn for us is an amazing storehouse of leads, the right decision makers for you. So if you know how to tap into it, you really don't need somebody else actually, that you're spending a whole bunch of money to pay to do your marketing. You've got the right marketing. You've got LinkedIn. You've got the systems. And that's what we're really big advocates of, because we want to teach the world how to use LinkedIn to actually generate real results, tangible results that they can monetize right away. And Don, I know, for all the listeners, that's exactly what they're looking for.
Got it. Okay, great. So here's what I want to do. I would like to gently, respectfully pin you guys down and have you just tell me, what am I? Okay, you've convinced me about LinkedIn. I get it. Yes, I see that there's people on there. I would love to reach out to some of these guys and make connections, because I know that there's business to be made through it. I get it. What am I supposed to do? Give me some steps. What's the first thing that I want to do? If I'm going to get into LinkedIn, I already have my account. I've already signed up or logged in. What's the first thing I need to do?
Okay, good. So the first thing you want to do is, number one, have a LinkedIn account, right? If you don't have one, it's free. Go to LinkedIn.com and get signed up. They're going to ask you to do quite a few things, such as input data on what's your job title, what's your company, right? Some of your previous background. So they're going to ask for that kind of details. So it's important that you have a LinkedIn account in order to do any kind of prospecting on LinkedIn whatsoever. But it's completely easy and free to set up an account there.
Okay.
So next, let's talk about the next steps and what actually delivers results. And it might be actually pretty surprising to you. Right, because a lot of people actually say start with your profile. Now, you need to have a really great profile in order to prospect, right? But just by updating your profile, you're not going to all of a sudden get a bunch of leads coming your way. The biggest thing that you need to do, and this is the only thing that we've ever seen work on LinkedIn whatsoever that delivers tangible results, that can do so and really double, triple your income or the amount of leads you're getting, fill out your calendar to the maximum. And the only thing we've ever seen work is the next two things I'm about to tell you, right? And this is absolutely essential. Nothing else you do on LinkedIn will actually generate the kind of results that we're looking for, right? So the first thing that you want to absolutely do, okay, is find your prospects, right? You got to laser beam your prospects. You got to laser beam focus on them and know who they are. Once you know who the prospects are, we can find them on LinkedIn, because there's a limitless potential of decision makers on there. There's doctors, dentists, CEOs, there's executives, HR directors, there's roofers, realtors, there's restaurant owners. I mean, there's VPs of operation, there's plant managers, right? There's all kinds of decision makers on LinkedIn that are just sitting there waiting for you. And so it's huge. So the first thing you want to do, laser beam target your prospects. Now, the cool thing I love about LinkedIn is that all the decision makers are really responding back to their own messages on LinkedIn. And I'll give you a little stat that really is hugely important, is that 47% of all the traffic that LinkedIn gets is actually through people's mobile phones, through cellular devices. Now, what does this tell us? Well, for me, this tells us that, look, the people that you're messaging, right, you're getting in front of, it's actually them. It's them looking at all the information, right? Because you're not going to have your gatekeeper that's going to actually have your profile on their mobile phone. That doesn't happen.
Exactly.
So basically, you're getting in front of the decision makers when you're using LinkedIn effectively. So number one, laser beam target your prospects. Number two is you want to send a direct communication to that person, a direct message, right? And that's how you get in front of them. That's how you get some results happening. It's not based on, profiles, or people aren't just going to come streaming to your profile. You got to reach out to them. That's called marketing. It's like when you go to a networking event, you're going to a place where there's lots of people that you can meet and find the right ones that you can actually do business with you. That's what we're talking about here on LinkedIn, is you want to reach out and get in front of the decision makers and send a message to them. It's the only way we've ever seen that works effectively when it comes to LinkedIn, right, Ira?
Absolutely, because otherwise, if you just make all these connections and everybody feels warm and fuzzy, like people do on Facebook, they got 10,000 friends, but they really know 50 of them. I call that kumbaya marketing, where everyone feels all happy. That's not going to help you. What's going to help you is you've got to get people on your calendar. So if you do the other kind of marketing that most entrepreneurs do, it's just like going out in the middle of the ocean. You got this real cool boat, and you think your boat, and you're so cool that the fish are just going to automatically jump in your boat. You got to put a line in the water. You have to go to the right part of the ocean where you're going to be, where those big fish are going to be, and you've got to have the right bait on there. You got to give some thought to it. You've got to have a strategy. Marketing is identical to fishing. You got to have a plan. You got to be willing to do whatever it takes. You got to move that boat around till you find those right fish, and that's how you have success with marketing. You can't just spray and pray and throw spaghetti against the wall and just expect people automatically build and they shall come. Those days are gone. You've got to go out there and you've got to be mindful. You got to have the end in sight with a very specific goal. So Don, I think those are real basic things that if everyone follows those, they're going to really they're going to see immediate results, and they're not going to have to sit around for 3-4 months and hope that things are going to happen for them.
Got it. Okay, great. So I'm excited about this. And to recap, my steps are: number one, you know, I need to laser focus on my prospect, what that profile looks like, find people who fit that profile on LinkedIn. That's number one. And then number two, connect with them and start to build an online relationship with them. Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Yep. And the biggest thing, by the way, is not just to build a relationship. You always, always, always want to get a meeting. Okay, so that's that's hugely important, because just building a relationship really isn't going to do much for your pocketbook or your numbers, your sales numbers. So always focus on the actual meeting and filling your calendar. You do that, and you will generate tons of success on LinkedIn.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, you guys have some follow-up training that you make available about how to get more in-depth on the step-by-step, how do I actually do this? And am I right that that is at mojoglobal.com/get leads?
Yes, so that's, yeah, exactly. So they can opt in there. There's a video there that explains our entire process, that walks them through exactly what they need to do in order to monetize LinkedIn, and even goes through a way they can actually just get it all automated. It's all systematized, and they don't have to touch a thing, and it just works. So we're big on systems, excuse me. Because if you got that, it's scalable, it's duplicatable, it's reproducible, and you know that you're gonna generate $3,000 in sales today, or $15,000 in sales in the next week or over the next month. So we're big on things that produce that. So we're gonna go over our step-by-step method for prospecting on LinkedIn, our checklists, the systems that we use, and all of that stuff. So yeah, just go to that link, and you'll love the video. You'll love the content you're going to get on the other side.
Okay, cool. So I will put the link to that below this video so that people can have access to that, and that's free. Am I right?
Yes, completely free training. So we this is our gift to you, so that way you can experience it and utilize it basically immediately.
Great, guys. Corey and Ira from Mojo Global. What can I say? You've really helped me out. I thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don.
It's been awesome.
Take care. Okay, and we're done. What did you guys ask for? Half an hour?